Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And today we're going to be looking into this album's 30th anniversary, and it's from the one of the bands that pioneered black metal, and but also created some other genres like Viking metal, which I don't really like to say that term. But and as you can see by the title, today we're going to be talking about Twilight of the Gods by Bathory. The band's sixth album released on June 29th, 1991 through Black Mark Records, and this of course follows up their previous album Hammerheart, with like some of Bathory's early albums being like their self-titled album. Pretty much a lot of people consider it to be the first black metal album. A lot of people say Venom started black metal, but I highly disagree. I think they only made the term, but Bathory did the rest. And some of their older stuff, like Bathory, Under the Sign of the Black Mark, and Bloodfire Death, were just in that black metal style. But when Hammerheart came out in 1990, yeah, they changed it up a little bit with having like kind of like that Viking like style, or sort of like mostly talk about like Norse mythology in their music. Same, and then I feel like with Twilight, but also have that kind of black metal feel to it. But also with Twilight, the gods, now they pretty much ditch the whole black metal style and just go straight up Viking metal, but also has like different elements of like doom and also classical, and it's also has some acoustic out parts and passages. And this album is just only solo Quorthon, and it shouldn't even be called the Bathory. It should be been Quorthon, Twilight of the Gods, but that's just me. But Quorthon, he played everything on this album and also produced it, with a little help from Boss Forsberg. But Quorthon did everything, did all the vocals, all the guitars, the bass and drums, everything. It's just amazing, just how talented this guy is, and just everything. So, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is the title track of the album, Twilight of the Gods, which is the longest song ever and probably the longest song in Bathory's catalog period. Yet it's 14 minutes in length, and I consider it almost kind of be like their Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner in a way. I mean, it has to be one of the greatest songs in the entire black metal or Viking metal genre itself. And the first half kind of sounds very Hammerheart like, has a very heavy groove accompanied by some backing choruses, and the song just gradually builds in intensity, and then it just around like 9 minutes in, and it abruptly fades out with a great acoustic interlude, and it just builds up into a tech to something really technical. And then the last bit of the song is mostly acoustic, and then it just sounds like the world just coming back to life after just an destruction, which almost kind of serves as like a pretty much an apocalyptic kind of movie. Yeah, very great way and just a really just bold start to start up this album. And next up is Through Blood and by Thunder. Now, this song contains some acoustic guitar melodies accompanied by some distorted guitars, making the intro sound just really raw sounding. And then after a few moments, it has some sick riffs, crushing leads, and just some screaming kind of like war cries in a way. And it also has a chorus singing behind Quorthon's sort of like war torn kind of voice, which adds sort of like an epic feel to it. But it just makes you just feel like you want to be a Viking. Um, Anyway, next song on the album is called Blood and Iron. Now, this song sounds a lot more epic, but the pace in here kind of sounds a little bit slow and hypnotic by showcasing sort of like elements of like epic doom metal. And this seems to be sort of like a central music idea throughout this album. And this is pretty much the least black metal sounding Viking album Quorthon had produced around at this time. And the drumming here is really simple, and it just focuses on groove rather than technicality. Um, Next up is Under the Runes. Now, Under the Runes seems to be a favorite among fans, and it's no surprise. It's pretty much, in my opinion, the most catchiest song on here. It has like a structure and melody of this tune that have a lot more in common with this mainstream music than Viking metal, but the solo work is decent. Um, then we get to Enter Your Mountain. Now, this song remains even somewhat heavy as another great riff emerges, and the atmosphere kind of sounds a little bit too light, as it's like weak and bright, but it's not as dark as you want it to be. It sounds a little bit soft and has more like just being in like fluffy clouds than just a harsh and rugged kind of environment to it. Bond and Blood. Now this song starts off with some sounds which kind of sounds like you're coming from a Viking village, and it just leads into a chorus with a heavy guitar tone, and then comes the heaviest part, and then the riff after this part is just skull crushingly catchy, and is pretty much repeated throughout the whole song, which adds heaviness. But I think it's a really solid song in its own way. Um, then we get to Hammerheart, which is kind of interesting. Thing that this is like the song is like they're like it's not a title track to like their last album, but Hammerheart is, I feel like, is a great conclusion to the album, ending it sort of like how it began in an almost atmospheric way. And Hammerheart kind of sounds like a hymn rather than a song, which I feel like it's dedicated to the Viking gods and the Viking people. And then we have like the outro, which is just a weird choir thing that lasts about 23 minutes. It's not 23 minutes, 23 seconds. I can't even speak today, guys. I'm sorry. But that, I think outro is just completely not necessary. They should have just merged it with Hammerheart. Now, overall, Twilight of the Gods by Bathory. Great album. It's sort of like a different era for sort of a different era for Bathory. I think they did with Hammerheart, but I feel like it really solidified it with Twilight of the Gods. So if I were to give this album a score, I'm gonna give Twilight of the Gods by Bathory a solid 9 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the album, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.